Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Marvel-ous Movie Mondays with Kelsey and Dale. Our off season is officially over. We're back into the swing of things. Off season was a little short between Moon Knight, Doctor Strange, and now Miss Marvel. Only a few weeks, but we are back. Excited to get back into some regular scheduled programming. Kelsey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Dill. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm some McDonald's Sprite because I have a really bad headache. I just actually, while we're recording this, I just came from seeing Jurassic World Dominion, easily the worst film of the year next to Morbius. So,
Oof.
I have a headache. I'm trying to relieve myself. Watch a little bit more of Miss Marvel just to recap and refresh, and get myself in a better headspace. Because spoiler alert, I liked it a lot more than I liked Jurassic World Dominion.
Oh,
But
good. I'm glad.
we'll talk about that in a bit. And I'm sure by now, the time this is going out, everyone has seen my Jurassic World Dominion review, and they know how unkind I was to it. But hey, you know what? They're making a lot of money anyway, so they don't care if I don't like it. Kelsey, do you have any news?
Wow.
Let's transition from dinosaurs to Marvel stuff. Um, do you have any news in the Marvel hemisphere? Hemisphere? I don't know. That's a good word
I
for it today.
do. That's been going on, and whenever we have these trivia matches now, we don't do a formal sit down news
Right.
discussion.
Yeah.
So we're behind the ball for a few things still, and that's the
That's okay.
fact that we got a teaser trailer for She-Hulk. I don't remember when, but at some point we very much did get that.
That's right.
Um, it was very quick. It was only about like a minute and 30 seconds long.
Mm-hmm.
All we know for sure is that Bruce Banner's involved.
Nice.
Um, there is so our main character Jennifer Walters is an attorney. So the full name of the show is actually She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, and we find out that she is now going to be leading a new superhuman law division of whatever law firm she works at. So it seems like she's going to be working with a lot of people. I wonder who's going to, pop up here and there, some
I
new
don't know.
faces, maybe some old faces, maybe some faces we've seen in different areas of the Marvel universe. Who
Yeah,
knows?
maybe some other lawyers that happen to be blind, maybe, and also in New York. Who knows? Isn't
Who
that what you were alluding
knows?
to? No, maybe I
I
don't
mean, I don't know.
know.
I'm really alluding to anyone. I'm just
Yeah.
honestly, I've been waiting for like them to tie in the X-Men some way somehow. So that's what I'm holding out for
Yeah,
anyway.
I don't know. They got to figure out
Um,
this multiverse stuff first, but who knows when that's gonna end?
who
Um,
knows?
yeah, and I got to preface, I don't really I'll sometimes watch a trailer, but then never again. Like I try to really not
hmm
dissect trailers too much because I feel like nowadays, especially with Marvel, they just give away too much. Like Spider-Man, I would have enjoyed that so much more without the trailer. Doctor Strange, I probably would have enjoyed a little bit more without the trailer. So I'm trying my best to try to distance myself and have a nice healthy breakup with movie trailers. But Kelsey, what else did the trailer have to offer that you would like to share with me in the audience, without giving away too much, obviously? But I'd like to hear more thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, there was just only this really kitschy moment at the end where someone that, her friend, they're out drinking. It feels very adult, this
Okay.
trailer. Like, it's
Mm.
about a woman probably in her lid. Whoa, what's up?
Lid in her
Her
lid,
li-
her
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 mid
nice hat.
her mid to late 20s
Gotcha, gotcha.
or 30s perhaps, living her adult life as a lawyer. She says, oh, at some point she's in her 30s, because at some point in the trailer she says dating in your 30s is the worst.
Mm,
So it feels like it's going to be very mature, which I'm looking forward to. And
nice.
at some point her friend says, oh, like you could be an Avenger, because there's some moments in the like it's no secret that she hulks out every now and
Hmm.
then. That's
Gotcha.
just it's an occurrence throughout the trailer.
Hmm.
And she says the Avengers is for billionaires and narcissists and adult orphans for some reason. And I just thought that was very funny, very
It's very
tongue in
true.
cheek of them
Yeah.
to include that. And
Yeah.
yeah, all in all, I'm looking forward to it.
Great. Yeah, I'm excited for it. Hulk is my favorite Avenger, but I feel like the
Mm-hmm.
movies themselves have not, like there hasn't been a great Hulk movie in a long time, and
Mm-hmm.
I think Hulk has been used well in other movies. So I'm excited to see more of a standalone Hulk project. Hoping it's great. Um, we got some other news. And that is that I need to find the name of it because I don't want to mess it up. The Thunderbolts just got okayed that it will be coming. With that's something that people have been toying around for a while now. Like, are we gonna get the Thunderbolts movie? Are we gonna get the Thunderbolts? It was finally green lighted. That it will be coming in 2020. I don't think they have a date yet. I'm not sure, but they did tap a director. Jake Schreier is going to be directing the Thunderbolts film. I believe it's a film, or maybe it's a series. I really should look into this before I give any news. But yes, there will be a Thunderbolt movie, and of course now people are immediately going to speculate like who's going to be in the team up. Is it going to be Yelena or John Walker? Is it going to be Zemo? Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, all these names have been thrown around because Thunderbolts has been a project that a lot of people have been waiting to hear announced, and now it finally is. But I
Mm.
don't know enough about the casting. They haven't given any casting at all. Just the other day, they just announced the title and the director. So that'll be pretty interesting to see as the time goes on to see what cast members, new and old, are introduced to it. It sounds like it's going to be more of a, faces you've seen before teaming up rather than faces that you've yet to see. This
Mm.
could kind of be like our next kind of darker Avengers, if you will, because
Mm.
with characters like Yelena, who's obviously good, but was kind of the villain in Hawkeye, and you have John Walker, who is now supposedly going to be fighting for good, even though he was kind of the villain in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So, and Zemo as well. So, those are the names that people are rumoring, but I don't
Mm.
want to jump to any conclusions because it's not confirmed. Yeah, any thoughts on that? Have you heard about that at all?
I have not heard about that. I
Okay.
I don't know that. I
Okay.
I'm
There you
like
go.
Kiki Palmer in that video. I'm like, I don't know this man. Sorry to this man.
Great.
I'll have to look into that, Jill.
Yes,
That's exciting though.
very very fresh. They announced it Thursday, I believe. So a few days, a
Oh.
day before we're recording this, a few days before you guys are all seeing this. But yeah, if you know about the Thunderbolts, let us know down below. At first when I saw it, I thought of obviously Thunderbolt Ross and the recent passing of William Hurt, which was
Mm.
upsetting. But then I was like, I'm sure there might be some sort of connection there. But obviously, I assume they haven't started filming it yet, so I assume he will not be a part of it. But maybe they'll have some nice homage to him. I don't know. Because She-Hulk made me think of that too. Because I'm like, I wonder if he's going to have any sort of presence in She-Hulk. I'm wondering if any of the Hulk characters that we've kind of thrown under the rug are going to make an appearance. I believe Tim Roth is coming back as the Abomination, but other than that, I haven't heard of any
Mm.
returning faces. So. But we already saw Tim Roth in Shang-Chi anyway, so it's not like it's
Right.
this big welcome reveal, long-awaited reveal. We already kind of saw him a little bit in Shang-Chi, but those are
Yeah.
the little Marvel news announcements for the week. I mean, there's obviously going to be more. We got an I Am Groot poster, which was cute, a nice little
Mhm.
teaser poster that is coming later this year. Still no Wakanda Forever trailer. I don't believe that was delayed, was it, or is it delayed? Is it still coming out in November? I'm not sure. It might have been delayed.
Yes.
Yeah, so we should be getting a trailer for that soon. Thor: Love and Thunder is around the corner, but now we got to transition
Mm.
to the show that's actually airing that we got a premiere from. This is the real news of the week, and that is Miss Marvel episode 1. A
Oh
lot of
yeah,
people,
baby.
not hooked by that trailer, but then according to Rotten Tomatoes, this is the highest rated Disney Plus series premiere thus far on Rotten Tomatoes. So obviously people are liking it a lot
Oh
because
wow.
or at least the critic percentage is liking it a lot. So I'm excited to hear your thoughts, Kels. I'm excited to get into it. So let's go. Miss Marvel episode 1. Kels, take us away.
Alrighty. Episode 1 titled Generation Y.
Hmm.
Kamala Khan and her best friend Bruno do everything they can to get to AvengerCon, where, after putting on a bracelet given to her by her grandmother, Kamala unleashes some seriously cool powers.
That's right. You said Kamala and who? Kamala and who?
Her best friend.
We,
Her.
we
Are
don't
you
talk about
making?
we don't talk about who,
Mm.
Kelsey.
I thought
um,
that this entire time, Jill, but I'm like, we're
is
gonna
that
have to
why?
talk about him because
I was
I
gonna
like
say.
Bruno. I
I
like
know,
him.
I know. I was gonna say before we started recording this, Kelsey came into the room singing. We don't talk about Bruno, and I was like, I wonder if she was just meiosis from her notes just into her brain, like, oh, I just
No.
subconsciously started singing the song, or if it was just a coincidence. I don't know, and I don't want to know the answer. So,
Okay.
Kels, let's get into it. Do you want to just give a blatant thought about it, a blanket thought at first, or do you want to just kind of talk about it as it goes?
Yeah, Jill, I'll give you a blatant thought. I really liked it. I'm
Yeah.
really into it. I'm having a good time. It's super colorful and it moves at a really good pace and I'm really
Mhm.
liking I'm forgetting her name already. They said Disney Plus put out a thing that was like, oh, a fan's guide to Miss
Ah, yes.
Marvel, and
Mhm.
I watched it right before I watched the
Mhm.
episode. Um And yeah, the actress who's playing
Yeah.
Kamala
Iman Vellani.
Khan,
Yeah.
Aman Vellani, she's
Yeah.
already like, I'm already like her biggest fan because
Yeah, she's great.
her whole story is like she really genuinely was like a super huge fan of this character and
Yeah.
was like, oh my gosh, I saw her in the comic books, I saw, you know, someone who looked like me in the comic books, I felt represented.
Yeah.
And you know, it's literally the story of Amin becoming Kamala,
Yeah.
like Kamala becoming Captain Marvel, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's
It's
like a
funny
whole
because
parallel moment.
it's funny because there's this TikTok like clip circulating out there of like someone on the red carpet asking her like what was your first big like Marvel or obsession or something, and she's just like Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. I'm obsessed. I love Robert Downey Jr. She's a fangirl, and I love that angle of the show. I love how this
Yeah.
is because admittedly this is a more geared toward a younger audience show, because I think you need, for all your more mature Moon Knights, you need these kind of shows to also kind of like circle back to the younger generation, because ultimately these are going to be
Yeah.
the kids in this generation that are growing up with these new movies, because now these older movies like Iron Man is how many years old now, like 14 years old. So you know it's been a long time, and now they have to kind of I think I did the math right there, but yeah, like now the kids who had Iron Man when they were 10 are now our age, 24. So now it's like
Mm,
kids who are 10 now, like these are going to be the projects that they remember seeing when they were 10 years old. Like these are going to be the projects that hook them into the MCU. This and your, you know, Spider-Man Homecoming, which was kind of the most similar comparison I made in terms of style and tone, or at
yeah.
least, yeah, just tone. Um,
Yeah.
so I like how it's more geared toward a younger audience, but it's still accessible for all. Like I'm still enjoying
Mhm.
it even as an adult. Like I appreciate how it is kind of focusing for a younger demographic while also being intriguing enough in every other element for older people as well. And yeah, I think Marvel has learned. I think the problem last year was that it would always, all these shows would end so well, or they would like really hit a nice peak, but they always started off maybe a little slow, a little exposition heavy, a little like, okay,
Mm.
where are we going to? But I feel like with Moon Knight and now this, I feel like we're starting off the gate so strong, and I think that's a really great plus. Is Disney Plus is that you know, like the first episode may end up being the best because it needs to be the one that hooks you and just immediately draws you to these characters that may be mainstay. We know Kamala Khan is coming in in the Marvels or whatever it's called, the second Captain Marvel movie. Like we know she's going to be a
Mhm.
main part of the MCU Phase 4. So like we need to love her. We need to get hooked to her story right off the bat. And I think they did a really good job in doing so. So yeah, we're both big fans of this, but I can't wait to talk even more about it because, like you said, like the visual style, I mean, it's just so awesome.
Mhm.
And I was one of those people who saw the trailer and was like, not doing anything for me. And then when I
Mm.
actually like sat down and watched this, I was like, this is a breath of fresh air, because it is so
Mhm.
stylistically different and tonally different than anything, even the Spider-Man movies that we've seen in the MCU. Like it doesn't, it might get darker, but like I like how it's kind of just this fresh, bubbly, fun, energetic show. So
No,
yeah.
I agree 100%, Dill, with everything that you said. So we start off our episode right diving right into our Marvel intro, but we have a song playing in the background, Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. And it's, oh, I'm already pumped up already. It's like dun 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 dun, dun. And I'm like, ooh, my blood's already pumping. I can't wait to watch this episode. Okay, so we then hear Kamala speaking, and she's making a video for her YouTube channel. She posts every Wednesdays. It's called Sloth Baby Productions. And essentially, what I acquainted her YouTube channel to was like, do you remember watching the John Green crash courses in school? It
Yes,
was like,
yes,
I'm John Green and this is Crash
yeah,
Course. And we're talking about
yeah.
the Civil
John
War.
Green,
It
the
was,
guy who wrote *Fault in Our Stars* and *Paper Towns*. I remember that guy.
yes, that
Yeah.
that John Green.
Wow.
So it was kind of like a Crash Course John Green type
Hmm.
style YouTube channel, but she does all content based off of the Avengers. So right now
Yeah.
we start off our episode with her giving us essentially a recap of Avengers Endgame, really showcasing on the fact of really showcasing on
Captain Marvel.
Captain
Yeah.
Marvel and how, you know, she came in, she took out his ship, she punched him right in the face, you know, all that iconic stuff we
Yeah.
watched back in
Which
2019.
which I've got to say, when I was listening, I was like, how does she know all this? Like, how the hell does she know everything that went down? And you know, Marvel knew that people like me would be asking that question, and they made
Hmm.
sure to give us an answer. And I love the answer they gave us.
What was the answer they gave us?
that it was Scott Lang's podcast, that he just spilled the whole story. And that's how she was
Oh.
basically able to get all this information. And I love it because it also probably explains why in the musical, the Rogers the musical, Ant-Man is in the Battle of New York, because Scott Lang probably told him. And I love that like
Oh.
Scott Lang is the source of this information that every other piece of media that's making any media around the Avengers, aka Kamala Khan, aka Rogers the Musical, is using Ant-Man's word for word stories to help shape that, when Ant-Man is probably exaggerating a bit. But I do like how Scott Lang got on the podcast and gave some credit to Captain Marvel, because just from the start and to the end of this episode, it's a very much like pro Captain Marvel, we love Captain Marvel episode and
Mhm.
character. And I like it because I think it's kind of an fu to the fans who were like immediately writing her off because she was a woman, or because they thought she was bland and not acting and they didn't like her or whatever. I think it was basically
Mhm.
like an fu, guys, like this is our Superman in this universe, and you guys have to respect her, or should respect her, or at least don't give her all the shit she did that she doesn't deserve. So I
Yeah.
felt like it was kind of like a little meta commentary of like, yo guys, give her a break. Give Brie
No,
Larson a
yeah,
break.
totally.
Yeah.
I think Captain Marvel just makes, like, people uncomfortable, incels uncomfortable, if you will, just because,
Yeah.
like, she's so powerful and she's so
Right.
badass. And they're like, no, but she's too powerful. I'm like, you wouldn't be saying that if she were a man.
If it
If
was
she were a
Superman, yeah.
man,
Because
if,
it's basically Superman just without the X-ray vision. Like, yeah, it's basically the same power. She flies and she can punch through shit really easily.
yeah.
Yeah,
And she's a badass for it. And we love Captain Marvel here on this
we do. We do.
podcast. So she says that her next video is going to be her theory on why she thinks Thor is secretly a gamer, which is like a nice wink, wink, nudge, nudge to the Fortnite moment in
Yes.
Avengers Endgame.
Yes.
And then we see that she's getting ready for her driver's test. Okay. And so we meet her family. She goes downstairs and we meet mom, dad, her older brother. And her older brother recommends he gives her a piece of advice and he says, say Bismillah. I'm so sorry if that's horrible pronunciation, but it's some sort of
Hmm.
uh, prayer of some sort, before she starts the car so that she has every, piece of luck that she can get.
Right.
And she does this. She starts the car and then she says it. And then I just love how they included that. Like it was like, okay, what did my brother say to do? Okay, say this before I start the car. She starts the car, she says it, and then her driver's test goes haywire. And that's just why I
Yeah,
mentioned that. So
and I love Randy Haven's performance as well as his driver instructor. A very very small little bit part, but I'm like, hey, it's the guy from Stranger Things. It's like it's this tiny little bit part,
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
so funny. He's like, that was my ride home.
Yes.
Just so
He's like,
deadpan funny. It was like the teacher in Ferris Bueller, just so deadpan. I loved it so much. Just such a great little bit part. Like I love those little bit parts, the little comedic bits throughout the MCU like that. Just so funny.
yeah. So she ends up going in reverse. She crashes into the car directly behind her and, turns out to be the driver's teacher's car. And there's a big building in the background that has in huge, like, poster card letters, like Jersey City. And you can feel it like, oh, we're
Yeah.
in Jersey City,
Yeah.
baby.
And
Um,
you and I have both been to Jersey City very recently for your birthday. I don't know if we've ever. I think we've told the pee story on this podcast. I'm not sure of me having to pee on the
have
way home
we?
from your birthday party. I don't know if we have. If we haven't, it will come someday. Not
Oh
today
my
though.
God,
Not
the
today.
pee
Not while I'm
story.
sipping on Sprite. Otherwise, I'll have to pee. But yeah, no, Jersey City, a fun city, and it's especially fun to see, brought to light here because most of the stuff is set in New York. It's nice to see something set in Jersey City. Gives it a little bit
Yeah.
more flavor and personality and relatability for us as
Yeah, for
viewers
sure.
specifically. I can't speak today, but yeah.
It's fine. I can't speak any day, so and then this one I started to notice still that there's a lot of like cartoon animation happening around her. We kind of
Hmm.
see whenever Kamala is going into like her own headspace, her own world,
Yeah.
daydreaming off into space that, all these graphics come about and it's
Hmm.
just like it's just super super fun and I'm
It is.
enjoying
Yeah,
it.
it reminded me a movie that came out last year that pretty much everyone saw. It was really fun. The Mitchells versus Machines on Netflix, like
Mm,
very vibrant, everything feels like it's a comic book panel. And actually, that lead character, I believe her name's Katie, is like a filmmaker. So I even saw those parallels, how she like makes little films with like the little character, like very similar animation style. It just really gives a personality, makes it feel like a comic book. It's the same that they did kind of with Scott Pilgrim. Like everything's very like
Yeah.
bold and colorful, but purposefully. Like it's supposed to, pull focus because it's supposed to be, building this world that is both familiar and foreign at the same, because you want to feel like you're watching a piece of fiction and escapism, even if it's supposed to be a little bit more grounded in reality. And I really like that. Just the colors just pop so much, and oh, I loved it. I just
Yeah.
the way this is designed is so good. And we'll get to the text conversation, which just had me gasping of
Oh
excitement.
yeah. Oh
But
yeah.
like just the way they thought out every frame of this to like really aid just the personality of this thing. Because again, like you said, the actress herself is so charismatic and full of energy. The
Mm.
character is the same, and I feel like the making the surroundings fit that as well. Just totally, it's the full package, and I loved it. Yeah.
So now we're at school and we meet Bruno, her best friend. I'm so sorry, but we're gonna have to talk about him during the duration of this show, which is fine because I like
Fine.
this Bruno.
I do too.
I'm
He's a
watching
good
this
kid.
Bruno. Yeah, he's a good guy. He's
He's a
a
good kid.
sweet kid. We notice that Kamala doesn't have any friends. She's waving at people in the hallway. People aren't really waving back to her. She's trying to get to her locker. These two people are like, "Can you give us a minute?" She's struggling a little bit here in school. And then we see that she bumps into this character named Zoe. And I'm like, right off the bat, and I'm like, what's this story here? What's this animosity? Did they used to be old friends at some point? She's like, do you think, like, would it be weird if we asked her to take us to, AvengerCon? And her best friend's like, no, she completely blew us off when she got 100,000 followers on Instagram. We're not friends with her anymore. So I'm like, okay, I see what's happening here. Kamala gets called to the guidance counselor's office where we meet a very sassy and fun, the kind of cool, I'm the cool teacher guidance counselor.
Yeah.
Who's
Mr.
basically like
Wilson.
Mr.
Or sorry,
Wilson. He's like,
Mr. Wilson's his father. Call him Gabe.
and
Oh wait, that's also his
Gabe
name.
is also his father. A very, very fun moment. And he's basically like, you need to get your head out of the clouds. You need to start working on all these things. There's SAT prep. There's like your college submissions. There's, you have to start planning for life. And he's like, I feel like there's two Kamalas happening here. And I don't know like which one you kind of want to be. And I feel like that's going to be kind of the whole story, the whole arc that this character takes, is that she's going to have to decide who she wants to be. I have a feeling I know who she's going to pick, being that I would choose the same way too, Kamala. So don't worry. But, we'll get there when we get there. During this conversation, we have a very funny Mulan reference where he quotes Reflection.
Yeah. A bit cringy, but also charming at the same time. I was like, oh, okay. Disney. All right.
Yeah. I just like it because I like going, Disney, you got us again, didn't you?
Yeah, Disney, even though you refuse to put any songs in your remake. Anyway. Yeah, because let's remake these movies and let's keep everything the same except for the songs, rather than let's keep the songs and change everything else. It should be the actual approach to those movies. But hey, I'm not in charge. I don't have any creative input there, but if only.
Maybe one day you will be, Dill. I have high hopes for you.
Maybe, or never mind. I'll save it for off the podcast. I don't want to slander anyone or anything.
Okay. So now we're in like a convenience store that Bruno seemingly lives above. I'm assuming this is something that convenience store his family owns, something along those lines. And this is when I noticed still, like, everything is just so bright and colorful. This set is so fun. It's really popping off the screen. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, I wish Jersey City actually looked like this, because it's really just, I mean, no shame to Jersey City, but like, it's really just your run of the mill city, lots of grays and, muted tones and all that. But this,
like a lot of the other
version,
MCU, yeah.
So they start talking about all the different ways they can get to Avengers Con. They're like, because we need to go. We don't have a ride. Like, Kamala is like, my parents would never take us. Like, we need plan B. And Bruno's like, what plan B is just sucking it up and asking your parents. And she's like, okay, well, that'll be like, last resort, whatever. So then they start brainstorming what the final touch on her costume is going to be. They throw out all these different ideas, which we see so eloquently animated for us on the buildings behind them while they're riding their bikes. Another cool sequence is, them spitballing all these ideas. So Bruno suggests doing steampunk Captain Marvel, or a mashup between two characters, Captain Panther or Iron Marvel, Doctor Strange Marvel, an Asgardian Valkyrie-like Marvel, and I will say that we got a graphic of a Captain Marvel Valkyrie moment riding on the back of a horse, and this horse was riding down a rainbow bridge. And I
Rainbows.
thought,
Happy Pride.
it's Pride Month. I don't know. Is that a
We are
tease?
getting Thor:
Let's
Love and
see.
Thunder in a month, and then now we have Miss Marvel. I don't know. Also, just got to say that had to be just like, hey, what if episodes did we not green light? Just give us those ideas. Doctor Strange Marvel, okay, yeah, Iron Marvel, gotcha.
Okay.
That was just the list of all the rejects that didn't make it into What If season 1. Maybe we'll see them in What If season 2. Maybe we'll see all of these characters in one episode, like a bunch of Captain Marvels and mutants with other. I don't know. Again, if I had creative control at Disney, maybe an idea I would pitch. Maybe.
I would love that, Dill. I would watch those episodes gladly. And then he suggests Captain Princess Marvel, to which Kamala replies, "No princesses. Come on, like maybe I'll be something cooler like Zombie Captain Marvel." And I was like, haha, like the zombie episode.
Yes, but
Um,
was Captain Marvel in that zombie episode? Was she? I'm
Touche.
actually asking you.
I actually don't
I don't
remember.
remember, but I don't think she was. So again, scrapped from the cutting board, ended up
Mm.
in this show. Again, great
Ah,
ideas they could have used.
you're right. You're right. So then we're back at home, and this is when I noticed just like how cool and unique the cinematography was with all the transitions. We have this
Mhm.
like shot that follows Kamala as she falls back onto her couch, and now we're watching her upside
Upside
down,
down.
watch the
Yeah.
TV upside down, and her mom
Yeah.
comes home with a big old box of junk, as she calls it, and it's from her nanny, aka her grandmother.
Mhm.
And she's going through a few of these things. She sees a lot of jewelry, and then she pulls out this bracelet, and she's like, "Oh wow, this is really cool. Was this Nani's?" And she's like, "That is junk." And then her mom immediately snatches it, throws it back in the box, and says, "Do away with this now.
Mm.
That's junk. You don't need that." And I'm
Do you
like,
think? I was gonna say, do you think? Because we know what it is. Do you think mom knows, or do you think
I
mom's
think
just like, no?
I think mom knows. I
You
think
do.
she like rejected that bracelet too quickly in order for me to be like,
Yeah,
you know what I
I
mean? If
agree.
she was
Because I
just
think
like,
she's Yeah, because she's so into the whole like I made this for you, like this is a hand me down, like I made this costume for you. So it's like
mm,
if her mom had like a nice bracelet or something, she'd probably like want to wear it or want to hold on to it. She wouldn't be so quick to throw it out because it's like a
yeah,
relic of the family's. Yeah, I agree with
no, absolutely not. I think she knows what's up, and I think
you.
that Nani must be into some hinky business, and I want to meet this Nani because she
And maybe we
seems
will.
really cool. Um, and then so then her Kamala and Kamala. I'm sorry,
I know it's
Kamala.
confusing because for the longest time I called her Vice President Kamala, but then I found out it was Kamala. But now this one is Kamala, and I call her Kamala. Either way, I apologize because it's probably gonna happen to me as well multiple
I
times.
apologize.
Either way, both Kamala Harris both Kamala
Ka-
Harris and Kamala Khan are
yes.
badass women that I will get your names right. I promise someday.
So Kamala goes out shopping with her mom. They're shopping for somebody's wedding. I kind of missed who was getting married. I watched this
Her
episode
brother,
twice.
her brother,
Oh, her brother's getting married. Oh my god,
yes,
that's
her brother's
amazing.
getting
Okay.
married. Yes.
Oh, I'm so happy for him. So they're, go out shopping in preparation for that. We had this little moment where another woman comes in and starts talking to Kamala's mom, and they're talking about this girl who broke off her engagement to backpack around Europe as like young free spirits like to do. And Kamala's like, cool. She took a
Yeah.
chance. She wanted to travel. She went for it. And they're like, the only thing she's gonna find out there is that she doesn't have a ring on her finger. So there's a lot of like
Yeah.
old traditional
Mhm.
cultural influences happening that like older generations are trying to push
Mhm.
on the new generation. They're not understanding. There's a disconnect.
And what's really nice,
Another
yeah,
hurdle
right.
Kamala Kamala's gonna have to get over.
And one thing I was gonna say is like I like because most of the MCU our heroes we see are older. If they have parents, they're not as much in the picture. The only one I can really think of is like Hope Van Dyne. Her dad's always around, but it's like
Mhm.
other characters. It's like they're either orphans, like they joked about, or
Mhm.
like or their parents are older, or they're just not always there. Like Peter, it's his aunt, but she's kind of spunky and new and fresh and with the times.
Mhm.
Well, not anymore, rest in peace. But like in this sense, it's like we're seeing a girl who's almost way too sheltered and um not burdened, because I don't want to say that, but like you know what I mean. Like her parents are such a large part of the picture that it's a much different dynamic than anything we've seen really in the MCU. I mean, I'm trying to think of other. I mean, even Billy and Tommy. I mean, their parents were Avengers, so it's like different. It's just a totally different dynamic, and I like this because we don't really see a lot of these familial dramas in the MCU. The closest thing we got to a family of superheroes was WandaVision, and we know that
Mm.
that family was as far from a real family in ways and as close to a real family in ways, but a very different family nonetheless than this. So I'm really enjoying just that family dynamic. A lot of the times I disagree with the parents. Sometimes I agree with the parents. Sometimes I'm more team Kamala, or Kamala, but like every time it's very interesting to see just the dynamic in general and see how they all interact and just the different strict uh guidelines the parents put on their kids, but also like when they are trying to like warm up to them and what they do. It's a very sweet dynamic. It's a very authentic and raw dynamic, which I really like, even if
Sure.
we're very clearly meant to side with one character most of the time. It is a very nice dynamic to see because it's something we don't see a lot.
Yeah. No, totally do. So while this shopping spree is going on, Bruno is back at Kamala's house. She's giving her dad this sort of like Alexa type of invention where it's like you can hook it up to your lights, you can ask it to change your
Yes.
television. He calls it the Zuzu though. So now we have, you know, an inner a new gadget. I'm
what
like,
were
I don't know where
you
this
what were you trying to say?
I don't know. A new
Okay.
invention, I think I was trying to say.
Yeah, there you go.
Um, we might want to remember this for later on in the episode.
Mm.
Kamala asks her parents for a ride. Okay, so eventually she does end up, sucking it up and swallowing her pride and asking her parents to the ride to Avengers Con. And, they're not really quite understanding what it is. Her mom's like, is it a party? You want to go to a party? You want to wear tight clothing? I don't, there's going to be boys there thinking who knows what, drinking, who knows what. I'm not really liking this. I'm gonna veto this, and they end up saying no. So then her brother takes one for the team and is like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna go talk to mom and dad. I'll see what I can do about them, letting you go to this Avengers Con. And so her mom comes back later on and is like, hey, like we decided we're gonna let you go. Two things though. You have to dress up in this costume that I made you, which is a Hulk costume. It looks like, a kind of tunic dress situation happening. And you have to go with your dad. He's coming with you. He's coming inside for 2 hours. And he's also dressed up in the same outfit you are. So you will be Big Hulk and
Mhm.
Little Hulk.
Yeah,
And
this is where I realized that the dad likes the Avengers. He knows
mm,
what's up because he loves the Hulk.
yeah.
It's just like me. And this moment was just so funny. And this is the one point where I did kind of more side for the parents, because I was like,
Mm,
literally, like you're able to go, like your dad's gonna be there, but like you're gonna get to go. Like I don't know why. I get it as a kid from that perspective, but I'm also like, I wouldn't be embarrassed. I think that's great. I'd love to see my dad show up at a party like dressed like that. My dad, if he ever dressed like that, I'd take advantage of that. That's a fun time. I don't know. I'm might come from a different perspective too, but like it's just so funny. I was like, wow, this dad's fun. He's cool. And I felt really
listen,
bad for him when he looked upset afterward.
I mean, I felt bad just as much as the next guy, but Dill, this was the moment where I was like, oh my God, like I would be absolutely infuriated if my parents tried to like pull
Yeah.
this on me when I was 16.
Really? Wow.
Like you can only go somewhere if your dad goes with you and you have to wear matching outfits. Absolutely not. I'm running away. I'm getting
If
on the
I was at
next bus and I'm going wherever.
if I was at a party and Kevin Kilpatrick came into the room dressed in the same outfit as you, I think everyone would celebrate and cheer. But that's just me. I'm a different perspective.
Yeah, you are a completely different perspective. I was totally team Kamala in this moment,
Okay.
100%. So she is like freaking out, obviously, about this. She's like, "No, this is going to be so humiliating. You're not going with me. This is just not happening." And obviously, like her parents, like granted, like, really take her words to heart. They're super offended. They're super hurt and upset. She hurts their feelings, and ultimately they're like, well, if you're not going with these two conditions, you're not going at all. And like, obviously we see the biggest emotion out of her dad, who's just super hurt, in
Yeah,
his
I felt
green
bad for him.
makeup.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
felt bad for him too, but
he could have
like,
still gone.
I
He could have still
guess, but
gone.
like at what cost? At that point, I would just be like, no, then I'm not going. And she wanted to go in her own outfit that she worked so hard on, and she wanted to
Right.
compete in the
Maybe
Captain Marvel
maybe
cosplay.
they could have compromised, like, okay, here's the deal. Can you take off the makeup? I will wear my costume. You could still wear yours. You could still be there, but you have to
Hmm.
take off the makeup. Like, see eye to eye. Like, maybe like a little bargaining. Like, I think it could have
Yeah,
worked out. But
I
again, we
don't
don't get
know.
the whole series without it. We don't get the fun, events of the episode. I'm just thinking logically because that's my stupid brain does.
No, I get it.
I'm
I
just like,
get you.
maybe like, yeah, forgo the makeup. I will wear my costume. You can still wear yours. You can still be with me, but like no makeup, and I don't have to wear the costume. Like that's the deal. Anyway.
I just don't think Kamala's parents are the negotiating type, but
Yeah, I know. I know.
in our fantasy, in our wildest dreams, perhaps.
Yeah.
Okay, so she talks to Bruno, and um she's like, "Oh, wait. Oh my god, I'm sorry. We skipped over the texting sequence."
Oh, Kelsey, my favorite part.
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay.
Because
It's
I'm
okay.
like,
It's okay.
when did the texting sequence start? Okay,
Because it
so
is kind of like a transition moment too. It's
yes.
yeah. It's
So she texts Bruno, and all of their texts come in. All we see all the responses as the audience within the set. So first, it's written in the stars, in her room, lit up by her little like star
mm-hmm.
candle thing, and then we see Bruno's response in the street on the crosswalk. Then we see it in his convenience store sign. We see a little emoji lit up in like the neon sign as well. And yeah, it was just a super cool moment. Super
Yeah.
original,
I
funky,
loved it.
fresh. Loved it.
And it's very clear they put so much thought into it too. Like just the timing and the positioning of everything. It's probably mostly done through visual effects, but I didn't really mind it. It was the
Hmm.
type of visual effects that actually aided the project, which, sometimes I hate the overuse of visual effects. This one I thought they used it very smartly and very creatively, and yeah, it just makes things fresher. It makes things feel spunkier and fresh and new. And I just love any show or anything that just kind of just tries to be different and unique like that. I loved it. I loved it.
And this is actually when I wrote down, Dylan, my notes. The thing that you were saying earlier on is that I just feel like this show feels like the torch has like really been passed on now to this like
Yeah.
next generation of
Hmm.
stories and characters, and just like a younger audience coming in with this show, because
For
I feel
sure.
like
For sure.
everything else, the first half of phase 4, I feel like everything has been holding on so tightly to past characters and
Hmm.
stories and events that happened in the past, and like this is the first one that feels like, wow, so this all happened quick. Summary in the beginning. This is a new character that we can experience the
Hmm.
world through her eyes now.
Yeah, and it's interesting because this episode in the show focuses so much on the overall like fandom and the property and the the IP of Marvel, because it's all about this AvengerCon thing. Like it's all about
Hmm.
worshiping these bigger heroes, but it
Yeah.
doesn't try to insert itself into their stories. It's more of just like it's almost like it's taking inspiration without feeling like it needs to infiltrate. Where I feel like some other series, it's like, oh, we need to like, take on the shield, but also make it connect to all these other things. And, like, oh, there's this breaking of the timeline and we got to connect it to all these other things. And, like it's fresh because it does feel like it stands alone while also acknowledging the events, but not feeling like it needs to be a part of those events. It can still exist on its own, like you said.
Hmm.
And I think that's interesting considering that this show probably more than any on paper should have been the one where it was almost overly reliant on the references to the MCU, but here it feels like it just makes sense with who the character is. It doesn't feel like it's going overboard with trying to like connect to everything, like even though it does reference a lot and we see so much at this actual Avenger Con, it does still feel fresh and new, which I think is really impressive, honestly. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. So then Bruno and Kamala have a conversation on the roof. This like heart to heart she's having. She's like, I just got into this argument with my parents. I think I made my dad cry. And maybe they're right. Maybe I should stop daydreaming and getting out of fantasy world, like maybe because she says this line that I wrote down, which I thought was, important to hear and digest as a viewer, which is, it's not really the brown girls from Jersey City who saved the world.
Yeah.
And Bruno has the perfect follower where he just says, sure they do. Like, you're Kamala Khan. You can do whatever you want. Like,
Right.
if you want to go out and save the world, you can do that. And I feel like
Yeah.
it's just the right amount of, like, what's that
Yeah.
word?
Um,
Influence,
yeah. I think, like I said earlier, like,
support.
yeah, this is like a show that is a little bit more geared towards the younger audience because the subject is younger. But I think that is why this is so special, is because it's a show more geared toward a younger audience. It's not as dark, but it has messaging that I think that audience needs to hear. Like, I'm an adult white man. I'm not the type of person who needs to be telling this stuff to a young woman of color. This show, though,
Mhm.
is what a young woman of color would want to hear, and like,
Mhm.
this show is really going to speak to them, and I think that's so important with these shows. We've had so many different types of shows. We've never had shows focused on young women of color, and this can finally be that show that I think really just appeals to that audience and just makes it so much richer of an experience, especially if you see yourself in those roles. And I think that's just been the thing with the MCU the whole time, is you find that hero that you connect with. I'm the
Mhm.
nerd. I connected with Bruce Banner. I don't have anger issues, but I get annoyed a little easily. I relate to Bruce Banner, and I just feel like other people relate to other characters in similar ways, especially with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, bringing in a lot more of that Black experience. Black Panther bringing in a lot of the Black experience. Now branching it out even more with this story. And I think that's what's special. And like you were saying, like, yeah, it can be the brown girls from Jersey City. Why not? And I
Mhm.
like that this show is kind of having that message, because it doesn't need to be, like you said, one of the big Avengers movie. Like, it doesn't have to be anything bigger than it is, but as it is, it can be incredibly big for someone, for the right person watching. So
Yeah. And I hate to say it, Dill, but they do share a moment on this
they
rooftop. They're
do, and I was
they're
fine with it. I was
gazing
fine with
into
it.
each
I was
other's
fine
eyes.
with it. I was fine with it. I was fine with it. It's because they established it early on, rather than Shang-Chi, where I felt like they just kind of forced it in at the end. It's okay. Carry on.
Okay, but I don't even think that was like a moment of like love in Shang-Chi. I thought that, it was just like, oh, thank God my best friend's alive. I'm going to rest.
No,
She's
I
going to,
know. Yeah, I
rest
know. That's what I thought
her
it
head
would
on
be.
his
But
shoulder.
then a lot of the people were like, no, no, no. They're gonna be a thing. No, I agree.
I
I
don't
I don't
know.
know. I don't know. I don't
I kind of no, never mind. Um,
know.
I'm like, I want Simu Liu to stay available for me.
Oh, okay. So you're being greedy. Okay, I see.
Anyway, moving on. So he made these gloves that glow for her to go along with her costume for the costume contest, and it's like, hey, like, here's some gloves, try them on. They have this cute little like fight moment where she's like pretending to fight him with them on. Then it's the next day, seemingly at school. Kamala gets her once again during gym class. They're doing dodgeball. Apparently we hear another girl say like, Zoe, you did that on purpose. So some more animosity happening there. And she gets home that day to find her dad fighting with the new invention that Bruno gave him, the Zuzu. He's like,
Hmm.
why can't this work? It's turning off lights. It won't change the channel. Get Bruno over here. He has to come fix the Zuzu. And then literal light bulb moment over Kamala's head. She has a plan to get them to Avengers Con
Yeah.
without her parents knowing. So, but first, before we get into the plan montage, we have this cool locker shot moment where they
Yeah.
open their locker doors, and that's where we see Kamala and Bruno
Bruno.
standing at their lockers.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it just like, I'm watching this, and like from an actor's perspective, I'm like they must be like having to nail like their marks so well for like, especially a shot like that where the camera
Yeah.
just sees this much of them, and they're standing in frame together, and he walks
Yeah.
over. I'm like, wow, he must be hitting that mark so good, right on the money.
Yep.
And just little things that I think
Little
about when I'm
inside
watching
things.
these
Yeah.
things. Little inside tips and tricks.
Right.
So then we get into the plan montage, and the plan is essentially just, they're going to sneak out, they're going to take the bus to the Avengers Con, and they're going to keep an eye on Kamala's parents to make sure that they
Mhm.
haven't noticed that she's gone through the Zuzu, because now
Yeah.
there's cameras set up all over her house. So
It's
she'll be able to,
Very Ferris Bueller, very
yeah,
much that, which I think every kid has thought about, like, oh, how am I going to sneak out of the house, but also make sure that my parents don't think I'm out of the house, and everyone's either tried it or thought it at some point in their life. So
yeah.
I totally, I mean, it seemed like a plan that could work if they didn't have to travel so far. You know what I mean? Because it seems like AvengerCon is just far away enough that, like, it's not like it's a few blocks away. Like it's a lot of margin for error, I think. But I don't know.
I feel like I know the answer to this question, Dill, but have you ever snuck out?
Have I ever snuck out? Well, my parents watch it, so I can't say.
Okay, well, you're an adult now. It's not like they're going to ground you.
Of course, I've snuck out. Of course.
You stuck out? When and for
I
what?
I'm not gonna say all the details because, again, there are people involved in the story that I don't want to hear this because I don't want to bust them as well. It's fine.
Fine.
Yeah.
I've never snuck out.
Wow. Well,
Never had the need to. I was
never
tired.
too late. Do you have a fire escape? It's New
I
York.
do
It's
have
easier.
a fire escape. I sneak out. I don't tell my roommates where I'm going.
Yeah. Why don't you do it right now? Just sneak out and come back around the front. I'll stall for 5 minutes while you do that and just live out your cathartic teenage dream of sneaking out of your apartment.
That's too much work. I'd rather use the front door.
See, there you go.
So Bruno's like, all right, this is all fine and dandy, but what happens when we get to Avengers Con and your costume's not even ready? And he gives her a suggestion and is like, why don't you add something that's like Pakistani to your costume? And that sparks another brilliant idea in Kamala's head. She goes up to the attic where her brother took the box of junk, quote unquote junk, from Nani. And we see her pull out, we see in there's a Girl Scout vest with all the badges on it. She moves that over. There's a homemade Captain America comic book that we're assuming she drew and illustrated and, created herself.
Mhm.
And then she finally takes out the bracelet from her grandmother. So then her and Bruno execute said plan, and they're running a little bit behind. They're chasing down the bus. It's
She
not
loses her bike, which I think
she loses her bike.
tough. Yeah.
She falls out of a tree. Like, I was like, ow, that's gotta hurt. That would happen to me and I'd be down for the count. I'd be like, okay, well, we're not going.
I was gonna say
anymore.
that's pre-superpower, so I was like, all right, sure. Yeah, okay.
So then we find out that the Avengers Con is in Camp Lehigh, New Jersey, aka the birthplace of Captain America.
That's
and right. I guess they've now turned it into kind of like a touristy attraction, like almost like, how you go to, I guess, like, I don't know, Civil War battle places and like Gettysburg.
Yeah.
Gettysburg in Virginia. And I was watching this and I was like, this is cool and all, but like, didn't this place get demolished in Captain America the Winter Soldier? Because didn't like Hydra
it's been a long time though, like they probably have rebuilt it. It's probably
rebuilt
a fresh
it.
new thing. Yeah, probably.
Maybe.
I mean, that's a good explanation, or it's just they didn't think about that, and which could be a much probably more predictable actual reason, but I don't want to
more probable. So we have a little throwback to Captain America, the First Avenger. We hear the Star Spangled Man with the plan playing as they enter Avengers Con. There's more than one Avengers, right? Okay, so these are all the things that I noticed at Avengers Con. There was an area to meet Thor. There was a little like Hallmark card, it looked like, that said "You're welcome, America," and it had an illustration of a man with a very big donk on the back. Because like that is America's ass. It was a callback to America's ass, and it's
donk. I miss.
Oh, I meant.
I know. I know.
I meant his butt. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, I got it
the
now.
Other part.
I heard dong with a G, and I was like, okay, all right.
Oh my gosh, no.
And the guy on this postcard in this children's show with a really big dong. Not the Thing. If you haven't listened to our Fantastic Four podcast, we did talk about this, the Thing's lack thereof genitalia. So please head to that podcast and listen to it. It was quite a time.
I'm so sorry. He had a really big butt The butt was just like emphasized
Yeah.
on the
Add a
card.
few more. Add a few more syllables. Badonkadonk. That might
That's what
help.
I meant to say, but I like didn't remember the slang term, so I just said one syllable of it. Wow, that's tragic.
Badonk.
That's that's so embarrassing.
Oh
Sorry, this is a family
man.
friendly channel. I apologize.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So then we see
Ooh.
a whole wall dedicated to Tony and Nat, and it says "Thank you for your sacrifice." And we see that people have been putting like postcards and thank you notes and flowers and all that kind of good stuff around
So do
there.
they know that old man Cap is a thing then, or are they just forgetting that Cap also just like disappeared? Um,
I
I don't know.
I
Good
don't
question.
know. I don't know what they think happened to
And
Captain
like
America.
Gamora, maybe I don't know.
Do they
Um,
know? Does Earth know who Gamora is? Did Earth ever
oh, that's a good
meet
point.
Gamora
And technically,
properly?
Infinity War was before the blip, so yeah, no, maybe okay, that's been a long time, but still, I mean, if they're honoring all the fallen Avengers, you'd figure they'd include maybe Vision in there, maybe give a little homage to Quicksilver, I don't know.
There was another T-shirt that said Asgard Pride on it. Happy Pride Month. And then there's a giant Ant-Man, and he's like, there's a giant Ant-Man from the harbor scene in Ant-Man and the Wasp. They even
Hmm.
gave him a little like pool with a boat in front of it to like really, emulate that scene
Hmm.
from Ant-Man and the Wasp. And we check back in on her parents at home, and they're having some, I'll just say, alone time together. Um,
Yes,
so then we notice that someone from school is at Avengers Con, and it is
it's Zoe.
Zoe. And she's also dressed as Captain Marvel, but she's more dressed as like the first version of Captain Marvel in the comics, where she was really just wearing like a leotard with a little
Hmm.
sash tied on her. She's in the throwback version of her, if you will.
Right.
Um, Oh, then Kamala goes to put her costume on to get ready for the cosplay competition. And she's trying to get this bracelet on. She accidentally leaves the gloves in the bathroom, which is heartbreaking because Bruno's like, "Where's the gloves? I made you these gloves. I'm obviously in love with
Yeah.
you. You're not wearing the gloves I made you." And I'm like, "Bruno, I'm rooting for you. Don't worry. This will happen by the end of the series, I'm sure."
Oh yeah.
And while she's kind of like playing around with the bracelet, trying to figure it out, I noticed it early on in the episode, but this is when I decided to write it down, is that she has some really cute nails. They gave her some really cute nail polish
Okay.
that I liked. It was fun. It was a nice touch. Okay, costume, makeup, hair department, I see you. I see you, recognize you. You understood the assignment.
There you go.
And so she finally snaps the bracelet on, and there's just this like force field of energy that kind of like consumes her body. We see that something wild is happening to her, something, magical,
Hmm.
cosmic, if you will, happens from the
Yeah.
bracelet. And for a split second, it almost looks like she falls into another dimension and comes right back. So and she looks at Bruno and she's like, "Did you see that?" And he's like, It's your time to go on stage. Go." So now we see there's a lot of cameras, a lot of people yelling, a lot of flashes, a lot of noise, and Kamala's getting kind of really uncomfortable on stage. She's like, "Oh, this is a lot to take in. I'm not handling this well at all." And through big extension of her arm, she sends out just like I don't even know what to call it, like an energy blast. What did I even say in my notes?
There
Yeah, a blast of energy. That's what I
you
wrote
go.
down. And so she starts sending out like a bunch of these. One of them hits the Ant-Man statue. So now
Yeah.
his head is rolling
Yeah.
down the convention.
His head is Indiana Jonesing its way with like a boulder.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, no one, everyone, but everyone's like, "Oh my God, these are such great effects." They start cheering, they're clapping, they love it, they're eating it up. I'm like, no one's worried about the giant boulder that's
Mhm.
bulldozing its way through the convention. This thing is taking out concrete walls. How
Yeah.
strong did they make this head? I want to know. So then they now Thor's hammer is now swinging back and forth like a pendulum, and
Yeah.
now Zoe gets hit by it. She's swinging with Thor's
Poor Zoe.
hammer, and
I
just
did
as
feel
she's
bad.
about to fall, I mean, I
Yeah, I
do.
mean, no one wants to get taken out like that, like a hit with a hammer. And I'm surprised she actually didn't get more like phased by
beat
that.
up.
Like that
Oh,
that was that
okay.
was a rough hit.
Yeah, that was a lot to take
Course
in.
it
I
was.
thought it just hit her and she just went flying, but no, this girl gripped on to Thor's hammer and now she's just going back and forth with it.
Yeah.
It looked like a lot of fun. There's a lot of rides like that, like at amusement parks and everything, like where you're like it's
Yeah.
usually like a pirate ship
Usually you
that
have a
goes back and
seatbelt
forth.
or something though.
Yeah, usually it's a little safer, but anyway. So Kamala saves Zoe at the last second by stretching out her hand. Her hand stretches to an enormous size. She catches Zoe, and then it kind of like breaks apart, like the energy field that she created
Yeah.
around it. And it's just so cool to look at.
Yeah.
Um, and so Bruno gets them back home. He's like, "We gotta go." It's now we know that it's not 9:22 like she planned on being home. It is now 11 p.m. She sneaks back into her room and her mom's there waiting for her. And she's like, "What are you doing? This is not who you are. I didn't raise you to be like this. You need to decide, another person in her life telling her, you need to decide what you're going to do
Yeah.
because you can't be in fantasy land and in reality at the same time. It just doesn't work like that."
Yeah. I thought she was gonna start quoting Mulan too, but she didn't. Yeah. What a missed
No,
opportunity.
I don't think that's Mrs. Khan's
Yeah.
style. I'll be
She's
honest.
like, let's get down to business.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
What?
Oh, nothing. That was just funny. That was
Yeah,
funny.
thank you. I've had that brewing for a
Let's
whole
get
3
down to
seconds.
wow. I'm
Yeah.
proud of you, Jill. That was
Thank you,
impressive.
thank you, thank you, thank you.
Your improv skills really came in there.
No,
And so
no.
now we end the episode on one word, and it is cosmic. And that's the best way to describe really everything about this show. I'm having a great
Yes.
time.
But
But don't
then
worry, I watched it because you texted me
I
about
did.
it.
I always make sure.
We got
He's
a
back.
post credit scene, baby. Okay, so we cut to, well, first of all, I'd like to point out that I did see an Easter egg and
Oh,
that
okay.
it
Yes.
was during like the end credits, like where they're
Mhm.
telling us the director and the executive producers and all that. In the background on one of the streets of Jersey City, we see a Trust-A-Bro truck, which is the
Oh,
company that the
nice.
Tracksuit Mafia worked for,
Okay.
or like the front, the fronting
Yeah.
company, whatever,
Nice. Nice,
from
nice, nice.
Hawkeye.
Cool.
And so now we get to our end credit scene where we see two detectives. One of them has a video. She's watching a video of Kamala at the convention, and she's like, "Oh wow, look at this girl at the Avengers con. Like, we've never seen powers like this." And the other detectives like, "Just bring her in." So
Yeah.
we're like, what do
Yeah.
they want
So
Kamala
yeah,
for?
it almost seems like Agent Cleary is like kind of your Nick Fury of this new phase because he was the one who obviously questioning Spider-Man and Spider-Man No Way
Mm,
Home.
mm,
That was him, the one kind of like asking all the questions, and now he's doing this now too. Like I wonder how much more infiltrated he's going to be in the story. I assume
mm,
that's kind of where the story is going, and that's my question for you. Now we both established we really like the series. Again, very vibrant, very colorful. A breath of fresh air is how I described it on Twitter in my review. I was like, it's just a breath of fresh air. I loved it. Very light, fun. But I'm interested to see where it goes. So where do you think this is going? Like, do you see this being more about like the government now trying to like get Miss Marvel in, or do you think it's going to be
mm.
more about the parents and the family dynamic, or do you think we might see some other Avengers, maybe Captain Marvel herself? What do you think?
I feel like this is one of those things where, like, I mean, Captain Marvel's got to make an appearance at some point, right? Like, this
I
whole
don't know.
series is dedicated to her.
Maybe.
Um, I, Dill, I'm not sure. I'm not sure which way I
Hmm.
want it to go. I feel like I would love to just, see a very classic coming of age story with, just superhuman superpower,
I
superhero
agree.
elements to it.
Yeah.
But I would find it very fun for her to, watch her kind of get wrapped up in something bigger than, more than she can
Yeah.
handle as well. Or, that's I feel like that whole storyline could be something for like a season 2 or for like a movie or something somewhere down the line. And I feel like this,
Yeah.
what we have right now, could just be, Kamala figuring
Yeah.
out
Right.
herself. You know
I
what I
think
mean?
my biggest complaint with the Spider-Man movies in the MCU is that we started at a 10 in terms of
Mm,
like we didn't have time for him to be the neighborhood Spider-Man. He was immediately fighting with the Avengers in Civil War, and then he went right on to the next movie where he was on a plane in the middle of the sky, an invisible plane or whatever. And it just
mm,
feels like we're now finally at the point where he can be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man after 3 movies. And I hope this
mm,
doesn't go into that trap too. Like I hope we can enjoy her being this friendly Jersey City Miss Marvel before we get into bigger things, because we know she's going to be in the Marvels with uh Monica Rambeau and Carol Danvers. So like we know we're
mm-hmm,
getting more of her. So why not let this one be a little bit more contained? I hope that this post credits is maybe a tease that will come around maybe in the finale rather than the very next episode. I'm a little worried that it might come up right next episode, but I really hope
mm,
they keep it a little bit more grounded, because I like where we're at now, and that's why I'm a little worried. Only because I know sometimes these Disney Plus series, they like to build up a ton, and then the finale feels a little rushed. And this
mm-hmm,
time we're starting so strong with the premiere, where I hope they stay on this plane, because I do like where we're at. I just hope
mm-hmm.
it sticks to the
Me too.
nature of what this first episode was, rather than trying to dive into something a little bit more convoluted and jam packed, when it can just be its own thing. But we'll find out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any more thoughts on this?
I disagree with you, Jill. I hope that they're just planting this little seed right now for something much later
Hmm.
down the line.
Right. Yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens though, and I do think Iman Vellani is so good in this, and she
Mm-hmm.
really does bring such a raw, natural likability, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
hard. A lot of the times, likability comes across a little fake, and I think she just has a natural charisma that really works on screen, to where like she's just kind of being her at times. You could tell she's just
Mm-hmm.
being Iman Vellani rather
Yeah.
than this character, and all those characters. I like Bruno as well. I think everyone is very likable, even poor Zoe getting taken out by the hammer. I think there's still a redemption arc in her, maybe. The
Maybe.
classic school bully becomes best friend thing. But I'm a big fan of this collection of characters, and I do hope we do explore a little bit more of the grandma story. Whether or not did it say if she's alive or not? Is it alluded to that she's passed away, or
No. She's the mom says like, "Oh, I wish I could say she's giving her stuff away because she's getting older, but this is just how she's been her whole
okay?
life." So she's
Great.
still
So
alive.
she's still alive. So maybe we'll see a little bit more of her. I would love to see a lot more of her, because I think that's going to be a fun little bit of mythology to explore. So your bet is on Captain Marvel showing up though at some point.
I would like her to. Yeah. I feel like
Okay.
that, that's I just want to watch Kamala's dream come true, which is definitely
Right.
to like meet her. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So like
Yes.
maybe like finale episode, like,
Yeah.
she just like appears somewhere and it's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, I've heard about you," or something.
Yeah. Uh, hey, Kamala Khan. Kind of like a
Yeah,
hey,
like how
Peter
she says,
Parker.
"Hey,
Yeah.
Pete Parker, you got
Yeah.
something for me?"
Yeah. There it
Yeah,
is. I was trying
I
to
know.
finish the line, but then I realized I didn't know the rest of the line, so I was like, Kelsey will get it.
It's okay.
Um,
I knew the rest of the line.
yes, because she is the trivia queen. Speaking of, we have exciting stuff coming for the rest of the month here on the channel. We have more Miss Marvel reviews, but in the middle, I'm thinking maybe between episodes 2 and 3, we'll have another trivia doubleheader for you. We're on the path to the belt. We're gonna have a title match in the next few months, so it's gonna be exciting to see who's gonna get that title match. We need to first have a few more matches, and then we'll be back on the Miss Marvel train, and then after that, I believe we have Thor: Love and Thunder. And then I don't know what our next thing after that is. Probably She-Hulk. But yeah, Kels, any final thoughts on this before we say adieu and see Miss Marvel episode 2 next week?
I'm excited.
Me too. Kels, where can they find you? And what stuff you got going on? Maybe on your YouTube channel. Maybe something dropped recently. I don't know.
Oh, thanks for paying attention to my life, Dill. You can find
It's
me
hard to ignore
on.
when we see each other every Monday, and my friend circle is already as small as it is. But yes, Kelsey's a very big part of my
Fair
friend
enough.
circle in my life. So of course I keep up to date with her stuff, and I like all
Thank
her
you.
stuff and view and comment. I actually haven't commented, but I will if you want me to. I'll
Thank
comment
you.
something funny,
Uh,
like dong instead of donk.
my God. Just when I got over the embarrassment of that, you throw it right back in my face. You can find me on Instagram at Kelsey A. Kilpatrick. You can follow me on TikTok at Cause13. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Cause Productions. I've been writing and shooting and posting these bits, these very, very shorts of me and my dear friend Lily. We're calling them Heidi and Lola, and we just kind of have these, very funny living young women in their young adult childhood conversations.
Yep.
So if you're into sketch comedy, you'll probably be into that. You can find all the episodes on my YouTube channel. There's only 4 right now, but there's
Right.
surely more to come.
And someday there may be a whole damn series. Who knows?
Who knows?
Maybe. Let's pick it up. Well, what network would you like to pick it up? NBC, like the classics, like SNL, or would you like maybe a more
Mm.
broader, like an HBO, or maybe like a more family friendly, like Disney Plus type thing, or maybe like Paramount Plus, like an iCarly? What are you thinking?
I'm thinking, I mean, I like the idea of being picked up by a streaming service because then it's not so regulated, like
Hmm.
there's, you can curse, it's
No
not network
commercials.
or anything. If I were to
No.
be picked up by any network, I'd probably want to be picked up by Comedy Central. I
All
feel
right.
like there's just so many brilliant, funny minds behind a
Well,
lot that goes on there.
I was gonna say
So to be
if you're
a
listening, yeah, if you're listening and you are a comedic mind and you happen to have any connections to Comedy Central, check out Heidi and Lola. Get them on TV. That could be the big goal for the year, because the subscriber goal is a slow march, but the Heidi and Lola to Comedy Central thing could be a more uh, feasible goal, maybe. Who knows? Um,
I don't know about that, but
I
thank
don't
you,
know.
Dale.
Anyway, you can find me Dylan_Randazzo Twitter and Letterboxd. Check out my Letterboxd. Last month I did a whole retrospective watching like way too many movies from 2012. Posted reviews for all those on my Letterboxd, but I did a top 10 video of my 10 favorites on my channel. A lot of people were upset with some stuff I didn't include, including the Avengers, which I'm very sad. But hey, it was a
Mm.
good year for movies. I had like 10 movies more. One of them we did talk about on here, The Impossible. Go check it out, because I also give a little
Mm-hmm.
shout out to Tom Holland and include a little clip of his lip sync, his very famous lip sync. If you haven't seen Tom Holland's lip sync, where have you been going? Where have you been living? Under a rock? Anyway, speaking of The Rock, Black Adam trailer came out, didn't look great, but that's not Marvel, that's DC, so we're not going to talk about it. Dylan Randazzo 417 on TikTok, Dill Pickle Movie Network on YouTube. Check it out. You're checking it out now if you're watching a video. If you're listening on audio, thank you. Head to the video, give us a like, a comment, a subscribe, vice versa. If you're watching this, head to the podcast feed, and all you have to do really leave the shortest bit of a review, and it really helps people see it. We appreciate everyone who has given a review so far, but if you just like give it a certain amount of stars, you don't even need to give it 5 stars, whatever amount of stars you think we have earned or is justified, give us that amount. Give us a small little review, tell people why we should go check it out. Even if you don't like what we're talking about, maybe you like us, or vice versa. Maybe if you hate us, you at least like what we're talking about and you want people to go check it out. Or if you hate everything, tell people, hey, guys should go watch these people because they're awful. Hey, it's views, so we'll take it.
You want people to hate watch us? Oh
Well,
gosh, that's
hey,
fine.
whatever brings the dough rolling, No, but really, we do this because we love it and we love you all. So please, if you want to spread the word, check it out. As we head into this, not second year, we're halfway through the second year of this podcast. But as we head into summer season with a lot of exciting stuff and trivia. If you want to be on trivia, if you want to compete in trivia, if you want to help host trivia for a match that Kelsey might be competing in or I competing in, head to the Facebook page, the Dill Pickle Movie Network. It is a Facebook group. You can join for free. You may need an admin approval or whatever, but you can join it. You can also vote on draft day polls there. That is how we decide the winners of draft day, through the Facebook polls. It's the only place that got traction last time. Instagram and Twitter did not, but Facebook did. So if you want to vote on a winner for draft day every month, you have to go to that poll, to that group, and vote in the polls. And if you want to be a participant in Marvel trivia, go to that group and let me know. And that is going to be where I schedule some of the matches from now on. So thank you guys so much for watching. We'll see you next week for some Miss Marvel episode 2. See you next time. Don't go see Jurassic World unless you really, really, really want to. Please go see Top Gun instead. It's much better.